number one, is just finding out, what lie the kid is in. But then what I do is I sell, make sure that when the kids get into a junior stick, they also get into a junior extension that comes with the stick. So I make sure they grow with the stick. Now, at the younger levels, the flex doesn't really matter so much. It's actually the flex goes actually down, obviously as the stick, when you put the extension in. But for a $6 extension, you can make a stick last another, for a little kid that's not breaking a stick, you can have that stick kind of grow with the player, so that they can learn that I can at any time, just like to this scenario with the Calgary Flames, Uyghur, is that now kids are more apt to experiment, just like a player, right? Experimenting with 1/2 inch or 5/8 or 3/4. If you don't have the ability to do that on the fly, like now with the quick change blades, it's so much easier to give a kid an opportunity to sample a different edge. That we do that with sticks now too. I do that with all my younger kids. It's like, give them an opportunity to say, sample this. I have my whole, I don't have them in front of me here, but I have my whole series of junior, extensions. I say, hey, sample your stick with this extension, and then find what fits you. And then you go from there. But I think that, it certainly takes a lot of work. It's a lot easier just to say, hey kid, cut your stick down. I get that. There's a lot of kids, but I think if you can pinpoint and give people the ability to sample different size sticks within their stick based off the technology we have today, you can really fine tune where that player is in the length of the stick. And Wally, to answer your question earlier, I'm finding, we went through a phase down here in our area with the Zuccarello effect, where every kid wanted a stick that was above their forehead playing. Without even knowing how to use it properly, right? So I think that's a phase that's kind of come in and out a little bit. But certainly the longer stick is more prevalent than a stick that's too short. With the kids that I see down here. Oh, you're on mute, Wally.
How do you address it? And I think it's starting young and not us one at a time. It starts with governing bodies and the U6 level of learn to skate, learn to play, and the U8 level, half ice hockey. You start young when they're just starting to play and educate the coaches who listen and appreciate the science of biomechanics affecting them as they grow up. It's to me, it's a shame that it's come that far in our sport. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was going to say, to your point, that's exactly what I talk about, in the coaching education program, right? If you're dealing with an 8U coach, a new coach to hockey, it's almost more important to teach them about those type of things, about the mechanics of shooting and how a player stands and how a player holds a stick, more so than whether they understand how to, catch a puck off the boards or pivot the right way at this point. It's more like give them the ability to educate the player on a massive scale, and then let the player educate themselves, finding the right fit. I go through the same thing with like youth lacrosse. You see youth lacrosse players, they get a stick off the shelf and they go and play. They don't know shooting strings, they don't know shooting heads, they don't know different, depth of pocket, how that affects the player. Like if a player has a deeper pocket or a shallower pocket, like all those kind of things come into effect and can drastically change the length of the shaft of the blade of the stick. All that stuff takes a drastic effect on how the player reacts to their mechanics, and not enough coaches are educated to see that and then respond to it and fix it and then grow with the player. And I think there needs to be much more emphasis on that piece, than some of these other things we worry about sometimes.
We used to have in our programs, Mike, it would have been 30 years ago, the biomechanical principles were part of teaching coaches. And I do it in 15 minutes. and I do it in 5-minute segments throughout the clinic. The stable balance principle is taught by getting up from your chair without moving your feet and shoulders, sitting tall. You have to get it over the center of gravity. Then I do use all the joints, principle 2, which relates to stick length, which causes you to have your knee bend. And it's jump up against the wall as high as you can with your ankles only. Then your knees a little bent, not your waist yet. And they jump much higher, so it's use the joints. And the last one is use the joints in order. It's playing catch with a crumpled piece of paper with a teammate, and then switch hands and try to go through the biomechanics of using the joints in order. End of story. You might sell the stick length, but the appreciation of the science in 15 minutes, that's the minimal that could be done right now.